The United States and Turkey have a pretty complex relationship at the moment. Both, remember, are NATO allies, very old NATO allies. And Turkey is of strategic importance to Washington. However, the two nations also disagree on a whole host of different issues, including on Russia's invasion of Ukraine. They disagree on the issue of NATO's expansion and also on Ankara's cozy relationship with Moscow. In a rare visit to Washington, Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu met with the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, but there were no signs of the narrowing of differences between the two nations. The issue that has dominated the talks is, of course, of the sale of the F-16 fighter jets by the United States to Turkey, and this has faced some loud objections within the U.S. Congress. Turkey has asked the Biden administration to be decisive in the planned $20 billion deal for the sale of the F-16 fighter jets, and has said that Ankara's objections to the bids by Sweden and Finland to join the NATO military alliance should not be an obstacle in the sale of the advanced F-16 fighter jets by Washington to Ankara.
No preconditions for Swedish or Finnish membership were ever formally discussed in the F-16 negotiations. We also expressed our thoughts once again that these issues are different from each other and that these issues are not directly related. Of course, we, as Turkey, told the Biden administration that they should explain this to the Congress. The important thing here is whether the Biden administration will stand firm or not.
Turkey has so far blocked the entry of Sweden and Finland into the NATO military alliance. It wants Sweden to do more to rein in the Kurdish groups, which Ankara sees as a threat to its national security. The United States has been looking for ways to try and persuade the Turkish president to lift his objections. And some US officials hope that the F-16 sales could actually help in getting Ankara to ratify the NATO membership. Of the two Nordic nations, this, of course, remains to be seen whether Turkey, of course, lifts the objections that it has for the entry of Sweden and Finland.
Congress has made no secret of its support. Of course, we share the enthusiasm that we've heard from our Hill partners when it comes to Finland and Sweden's NATO membership. And we're going to continue to encourage Finland, Sweden, Turkey to engage in constructive dialogue to see this through just as quickly as can be managed.
The other sticking point between the two nations is Turkey's threat of a military operation in northern Syria, and also its recent intent to normalize ties with Damascus. The United States has warned that Turkey's operation in northern Syria could potentially destabilize the entire region and also revive the Islamic State group.
On one hand, there is a blockage in matter of Syria. On the other hand, we are making efforts to eliminate this blockage by engaging with the regime. The international community, especially the West, has a reluctance in this regard. So we had some suggestions to focus on Syria again and work together. We will work on it.
When it comes to Syria, we've been clear publicly, also privately, that we don't want to see any unilateral actions that have the potential to set back the tremendous progress that the international community has achieved in the effort to counter ISIS, counter Daesh, over the past several years.
The ties between the two NATO allies have been strained ever since Turkey acquired the Russian missile defense systems of the S-400 in 2019. This, of course, led to US sanctions and Turkey being removed from the development program of the top-of-the-line F-35 fighter jets. Ankara is now trying to boost the F-16 fleet. The sale, if it were to go through, will be simultaneous with a deal for the F-35 fighter jets for Greece, which happens to be Turkey's neighbor and also a historic rival. All right, now to give us more insights in terms of how this very interesting equation between the United States and Turkey will play out, we're being joined by Mr. James M. Dorsey, who's joining us live from Bangkok. He's an award-winning journalist and also a scholar and adjunct senior fellow at the Nanyang Technological University. Now, Mr. Dorsey, this remains to be seen as to how things pan out between Turkey and the United States. There's a $20 billion deal for the sale of F-16 fighter jets But there are loud noises within Washington that say that this deal should not go through because Turkey has been pretty ambivalent in West's support for Ukraine in this invasion of Russia.
Indeed. I think basically this is a visit that is going to shape and determine what U.S.-Turkish relations are going to be going forward. Underlying the issue of a Turkish refusal to link the sale of the F-16 fighter jets to NATO membership of Sweden and Finland is a really fundamental principle. What Turkey is asking of Sweden and Finland is not simply to adopt its definition of what is terrorism and act on those principles. It's really asking two democratic countries to undermine the independence of the judiciary in those two countries, similar to what is happening in Turkey. With other words, Sweden and Finland have said to the Turks, we have an independent judiciary. People who would be potentially expelled from Turkey from Finland and Sweden to Turkey on the grounds that they are affiliated with an organization that Turkey views as terrorist, would basically mean that that those people would have, or that the governments of Sweden and Finland would disregard the rights of those people. So this is about really fundamental issues, not only about the delivery of or the sale of weapons to a NATO partner.
Absolutely, indeed. That's an important point that you made about the Kurdish separatists, because that is how Turkey views them. It calls the Kurdish separatists to be terror organizations which have found refuge in Sweden and Finland. It wants Sweden and Finland to crack down on them before Turkey decides to lift its reservation about them joining the NATO military alliance. But the question is much deeper than that, because Turkey has been a part of the NATO military alliance since 1952 onwards. But ever since Turkey decided to purchase the S-400 missile systems from Russia, the United States has not been very happy with this. The United States has taken Turkey off the development of the F-35 fighter jet program, and now there's this deal for the sale of F-16 fighter jets to Turkey. Do you think, with Turkey having purchased the S-400 defense missile systems from Russia, the United States would be willing to share its most advanced fighter jets with Turkey?
First of all, I think we do have to recognize that although Turkey acquired the S-400, it really has not made it operational. And I think that's an important fact to keep in mind. Second of all, the F-16 is a very advanced fighter jet. It is not the United States' most advanced fighter jet. That is and remains the F-35. Fact of the matter is that a key driver of Turkish foreign policy today, whether that relates to Syria, whether that relates to NATO membership of Sweden and Finland, is the Kurdish issue. And that is particularly important because it is, in a sense, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's nationalist credentials in a year in which he is going to face a tough election. And it's a particularly symbolic year because this is the centennial year of the Turkish Republic as it was carved out of the ruins of the Ottoman Republic.
All right, very interesting. My last quick final question to you is this. If the issue of Kurdish separatists getting refuge in Sweden and Finland, if that were to be sorted out, will the issues that the United States has with Turkey leaning more and more towards Russia in terms of acquisition of its weapons, do you think these are issues that will then get ironed out and it is just the Kurdish separatism which remains the critical issue here?
Again, I think we're dealing with much more fundamental issues. We're dealing with a world in which middle powers like Turkey have much more ability to maneuver independently, and therefore we're going to see a very different kind of relations between Turkey and the United States, as well as between the United States and similar powers, particularly in the Middle East. Now, having said that, I think that what many observers are expecting is that these issues will look differently once we've had the elections which are likely to be in June, and we know what the outcome is. It may very well be that if President Erdogan wins this election, they be willing to be more flexible on some of these issues.
All right, very interesting. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Rossi, for joining us and getting us all those insights there on this very crucial geopolitical issue that, of course, is playing out at this moment.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.